America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Good morning and welcome to the Business Hour. I'm Ron Comacho, your host, and today's topic at hand is the topic of smart development, the kind of development in a urban area that supports the vitality of an urban area. And all across the U.S., there are hundreds of cities spending hundreds of millions, both publicly and privately, to revitalize or to sustain the vitality of their urban centers. Because without a vital urban center, a region will crumble. It will be the demise of any given region if you don't have an active and vital city center. And there are some residential development firms that are contributing more to making the urban environment more walkable, enhancing green space and making it more attractive, and in particular, making it more transit friendly. In Atlanta, one major project, the Beltline, is leading the way to revitalizing the inner core of the city by creating a pedestrian-friendly inner circle that connects neighborhoods and supports a full range of development all along the way. And to complement this revitalization effort, residential companies such as Windsor Stevens are designing and building places to live that embody the best of new urbanism with projects that, quote unquote, encourage social interaction, technological innovation, environmental sustainability, and transportation options while facilitating a connected lifestyle, and I might add, improving overall quality of life. And to share an insider view of what and how Windsor Stevens is executing and making this vision a reality, I'm very pleased to have as my guest today Rod Mullice, the managing partner of Windsor Stevens. Rod, welcome to the Business Hour.
Thank you for having me.
You know, Rod, I meant everything I said in the beginning. A lot of listeners know that urban revitalization and urban design is a favorite topic for me, and that's why I'm pleased to have you here today. And let's start off by having you share an overview of Windsor Stevens, when the company began, what the inspiration for creating a residential development company, and who were some of the key players in helping you getting the company off the ground. We'll get into your credentials later on because you're eminently qualified to do what you do. But you could have chosen commercial development, or you could have chosen another area of real estate, but you chose residential development. Tell us a little bit about Windsor Stevens.
Well, Windsor Stevens is named after my grandfather, 6 times removed, who was born enslaved in 1828 in Liberty County, Georgia. But through his life, he was able to accumulate livestock, and after he got his freedom in 1865, was able to accumulate land. And so that sense of industrious and thriftiness and honesty is what we want to exhibit in all of our projects that we undertake. You asked me who were instrumental in starting the company. When did Windsor Stevens start it? Well, we really started in 2014 when a friend and partner of mine, Ramel Canetti, and I teamed up with Michael Russell and Jerome Russell from the famed H.J. Russell family to try our hand at building, raising money and building the pad on Harvard. And that was the beginning of Windsor Stevens in 2014, April 2014, when we put our first parcel of land under contract for the pad on Harvard in historic downtown College Park.
A lot of people may not know, and I don't know Jerome Russell personally. I did know his father and did some work to support them marketing-wise some years back. but he's got credentials as one of the most quality construction-oriented, and just as an entrepreneur, that company, which is a little more diversified than most people realize, the H.J. Russell companies. And so you had a good partner in Russell, and evidently Ramal Jemedi was on the same page. Tell me a little bit about why College Park. You could have chosen any number of places in the metro area, but in the short time that I've known you, I think you would have done some homework to know that that was a good place to be, maybe from the standpoint of proximity to the airport, and which would be one of the ultimate transit-oriented elements of a development, but also maybe the economics of the area were right for residential development. I know that in recent years, College Park has been undergoing a revitalization. You might have seen the early stages of that and wanted to contribute to it. Tell me a little bit about how you located there.
Well, so it starts back in 2010 when MARTA, under the leadership at that time of Beverly Scott and their head of planning, Cheryl King, and I think Davis Allen was their CFO, had this mandate to find other revenue for the system outside of their fare collection. They were looking to get some relief from the state legislature. So they were at an event, and I was at the time working at a firm by the name of Newmark Knight Frank, and just started there 6 months, coming out of the infrastructure business and going to the commercial real estate business to kind of sharpen my skills and build my talent build my skill set on market analysis, financial analysis. I was talking to Davis Allen, who's the CFO, and he said, we need to figure out a plan to create retail opportunities at our stations, because that's what the state of Georgia would like for us to do. And I said, well, our firm has worked with MTA in New York City, and we worked with CTA in Chicago, and we could probably devise a project for you guys to give you some visibility and the financial, viability of certain retail concepts at certain stations. They competed a contract. We won the contract, and I studied all 38 stations with a team of folks, and we came back and we found some pretty glaring, opportunities in there. And one opportunity that we figured out was that the highest correlation of ins and outs of 82 stations in the 38 station system was College Park to the airport. We shared that with MARTA, and then we said that this is probably one of your best opportunities for development. Beverly Scott left the agency. The program was stalled, and so I went to this head of economic development at the city of College Park at that time. Her name was Barbara Coffey, and I said, here's a study that we did between College Park MARTA Station and the airport. You have a lot of great potential here. And she said, I know, but nobody is listening to me.
Wow. You really did do your homework. I mean, very literally, you figure out essentially a path of less resistance. Greater opportunity would be a better way to put it. Walk us through some of those early presentations. It sounds like you had a number of key partners that were involved: the state, the city of College Park, maybe MARTA itself, our metropolitan rapid transit system. Investors, you must have had some key investors, maybe working with the banks. How did you explain to the banks the advantages of transit-oriented development?
Well, it's we have a great bank, and who's been with us on all three projects, Atlantic Capital Bank. We have a fantastic banker, Peter Blum, who is very forward-thinking. He's a trained architect, but an experienced banker also. And they are a bank that looks for, opportunities with people who are going to, are conservative in their approach to development. And so they had a relationship, actually. Peter's boss had a relationship at the time, Peter's boss with Jerome Russell. They went to high school together.
Okay.
And so when we started looking for capital, they solicited us and said, "Hey, we really are interested in this site." And they had another fella on their team by the name of Rogers. He played football for Georgia Tech and then played in the NFL, but he was in their capital markets team, and he grew up in East Point, so he was familiar with the area also. And they said that the fundamentals were right. There were some social elements and some leadership elements on the political side that we had to kind of work through, but the fundamentals were right. The 115,000 jobs within a 5-mile radius of our site. Delta headquarters within 10 minutes, Porsche within 10 minutes, the airport within 2-minute train ride, Chick-fil-A. But the hidden gem for us, and has always been for College Park, has been Woolward Academy, which is the largest day school in the continental United States. But that alone is fantastic, but it was also probably the most diverse day school, with the average tuition of approaching $30,000. They have a fantastic leader in Dr. Stuart Gully, who, prior to having that position as the headmaster or president of Woolward Academy, was a president of LaGrange College. The fundamentals of drivers for value in real estate were already there. And just don't forget the MARTA station.
Yeah. In fact, it sounds like there were really a lot of stars in alignment on this. I mean, right down to Rogers growing up in the area and being one of the key players, and a development firm that had as its, or a bank, Peter Blum being an architect and / development guy. He would have understood, because I want to spend just a moment reiterating that for folks who have been keeping up with what we'll call smart urban development, and has been characterized as new urbanism or neo-urbanism, transit-oriented development, walkability, connectivity, those are elements that contribute to the vitality of a city in that. And if you just stop to think about it, if you're located within walking distance of a transit station that can take you to the airport, that can take you any place in the world. We happen to have one of those airports that goes to more places than any place in the world. But if you can take advantage of transit, which mass transit, which means you're not getting in your car, which means you're not polluting the air, if you will, which means you're not contributing to congestion, it has multiple benefits just in and of itself for being transit-oriented. And then there are all these other aspects to your properties. And, you and I had chatted off air about what I said was, Rod, I think your projects all have enough attention to detail that they could succeed in any part of an urban area, even if they weren't transit-oriented. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what some of those features are. We're here with Rod Mullice of Windsor Stevens, and we've been talking about smart urban development. We'll be back with Rod right after this break.
Perhaps you are struggling to cope with the disease of addiction. If not, You probably know a family member or friend that needs help in battling the cravings and the personal and professional damage done by the effects of drugs or alcohol. Get a pen and paper and be ready to write down the following. These are the issues that the trained staff at the Atlanta Healing Center address and treat every day. Their doctors and counselors with over 40 years of practice in the field of addiction can treat the suffering individual in a thoughtful, compassionate, and experienced manner and guide him or her along the path to recovery. So call 770-696-9862 and speak to a knowledgeable staff member about how you or your loved one can be helped to enjoy a better and healthier life. More information is also available on the website at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
Good morning. My name is Mike Mizell. I'm a retired Army colonel and president of the Johns Creek Veterans Association. We meet in Newtown Park, and part of one of our projects is the installation of the Healing Wall, the half-scale model of the Vietnam Wall that traveled the United States. Well, it's coming to rest, and it's going to live in Johns Creek forever, the half-scale model. We're looking at possibly a March implementation ribbon cutting ceremony, and we're looking for donors and sponsors that want to help us in this great project. You can donate at jcvets.org.
Want to give your family or loved one the perfect gift? Then go online and check out the tornadobodydryer.com. I love mine and the warm heat air massage it gives me after my shower. The Tornado Body Dryer is super. You'll love it, and you'll love having one in your shower.
And I just want to reiterate what was just said about the Tornado Body Dryer. Go to our website, and the first thing you'll see is an ad for it. Click on it, find out more about it. Not only is it a body dryer, but it's also a body massager. I use it every morning in my shower. I love it. It's the best thing I've ever put in a shower in my life. And you'll enjoy it too. And I started using it not only as a body dryer, but the hot air that comes out of it, and it comes out forcefully enough that it does really give you a massage at the same time. So check it out on our website on americaswebradio.com. We'll be back with Ron Comacho and his guest right after this.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the Americas Broadcast Network.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. I'm here with Rod Mullice of Windsor Stevens. We've been talking about quality development, quality residential development, transit-oriented development, and the features and benefits of being transit-oriented for residents and for the population at large. I am going to take a second. This is a little bit unusual, but you just heard a spot about the body dryer, and our station engineer and GM happens to have a tornado body dryer in his home. And Rod, that's something you guys might want to take a look at for some of your high-end units. It's a kind of a he's got a really nice shower, and now he's got this body dryer technique called the Tornado. And the first time it was described to me, I thought, wow, getting out of finishing your shower and having something really warm to draw you off, that would be kind of nice. I got out and kind of had a little chill this morning, so I wanted to give a tip of the hat to the Tornado body dryer. But now let's get back to Windsor Stevens and the topic of quality residential development. You have units. You have projects which are quality oriented in and of themselves, with great architecture, and you have a great architecture partner Tell us a little bit about your partner. Tell us about how you selected that architect, and then we'll talk a little bit about the architecture of the properties, because they are all distinct. And as I said, they would hold up in any part of almost any metro area, in my opinion. The fact that you have all the benefits of being transit oriented is a plus. So tell us how you selected an architect, because an architect is such a key partner for any developer.
Yeah, so we had 3 criteria, Ron, when we selected our architect. We wanted them to share our values. We wanted them to have more capacity than we did so we could grow with them. And then we wanted them to have the culture of collaboration and cooperation, because that's kind of the culture we like to bring to our projects to expedite them. Our firm that we selected through an exhaustive process for the very first project, which is the pad on Harvard back in 2014, 2015. Actually, we started with them in 2014, and they did the site plan and all of the planning for us, was Niles Bolton and Associates. And I was familiar with Niles Bolton and Associates through their work with me on the Urban Land Institute Transit-Oriented Development Product Council nationally. And we've just had a wonderful relationship where we share a vision with them, and they come in, they take it down to every nail, every screw, and every inch of concrete that we need to put into the development. As it relates to our design style, right? We generally like to meet the local communities where they are. And so we go into the community prior to submitting for a project. We try to conceive what the project would look like. And what's the major driver is the major design standards of that community. In College Park, we see a lot of brick, and the brick is there because the churches have a lot of red brick. And then Wilbert Academy, which is kind of the anchor institution, has a lot of brick. So our projects tend to have a lot of red brick on it, which is also similar to a community I grew up nearby, Savannah, Georgia. In Chamblee, they wanted to have a mill/mercantile feel to it, which is a dominant architectural style in the early 1920s and 30s. And as most people remember, Chamblee started out as an industrial community, which is now transitioning into a residential community. And so working with Niles Bolton, Rowan Stewart, and Joan Dacklet, Joan is someone who spent some time in Savannah. She understands some of the architectural nuances of Savannah, and we've been able to come up with a really great working relationship from a design perspective.
A lot of people have a special appreciation for brick-built structures. I happen to be one of them. Others oftentimes want to go beyond and take a different approach to design of structures. But in the South, you really find some of the finest from Williamsburg to Savannah, some of the finest design brick structures, and a lot of them are very different. I mean, it depends on what you do with that brick. And I was pleased to see that if listeners want to follow, and I was pleased to see what they look like, and if listeners want to see as well, you can go to www.windsorstevens.com. Go to the Instagram or Facebook and take a look, and I think you'll come to the same conclusion that I did, which is that those are very attractive structures. But beyond quality architecture, and any good architectural firm goes well beyond the facade and the fascia, in this case brick, that outside layer, to having what good architecture firms have, what I consider to be architecture with depth. That's not a term that's used in the industry, but it's a term that I use because there are layers of depth to the structure. You also have some layers. Technology, for example, plays a part in these units. They are wired to be on the leading edge of technology. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we believe in a concept called the connected lifestyle. And Niles Bolton, a lot of the architects, Niles came out of Georgia Tech. It's a little longer than most he would probably want to admit, but he's built, one of the top 5 residential architectural firms in the country, and they're very adept at integrating technology into the buildings. And so we've created a partnership with Google. We have the only Google fiber building south of I-20 in the pad on Harvard. And that allows our residents to, we have one resident there who works at the CDC in the communications department, so she can telecommute because the fiber cable is very robust, has capacity. We also have Google Nest in all of the units. We are now integrating and building a relationship with Samsung Appliance to couple that with the Google Nest as the hub, and to kind of create a whole connected lifestyle experience, because we're focusing on those people who want to use technology to stay in touch for their work. They can telecommute.
You have some stellar big name organizations, Chick-fil-A, Porsche, Delta Airlines itself. When you talk about 5G technology, all those people when telecommuting, it really matters to them. It may not matter to the average home, although I'm certain you'll find some young folks who like the idea of being able to download, and play games that require massive amounts of data capability and speed. But for others who are crunching data and need to do it in a timely fashion, keeping up with what's on the leading edge of technology. If you work for one of those companies are trying to get more people to telecommute, not drive to work. Again, we're talking about the basic principles of smart urban development, which is to say that you spend less time in your car and more time taking advantage of mass transit or telecommuting and working from the home. All this stuff kind of adds up. And that's why I consider what you're doing to be on the leading edge overall. Social interaction. I said at the top of the show that you believed in encouraging social interaction along with technological innovation, environmental sustainability, transportation options, facilitating the connected lifestyle. So let's talk about encouraging social interaction, because not a lot of people necessarily associate high-speed internet with social interaction. But as far as I'm concerned, when you have high tech and high touch, which is the connectivity, the social connectivity, that's a very ideal balance. So tell us about how you encourage social connectivity.
So we over design and overbuilt common space area that is done very well by our interior designer Amani Tanis, who's over at Nelson. And inside of those common area spaces, clubhouses, gyms, 2 clubhouses, dog parks, we provide Wi-Fi service. So we would like for people to come out, and it's free. You use the free Wi-Fi, and then we have coffee for you, and then we have what we call random connections where brilliancy happens.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to cite a very specific thing that I noticed at one of your properties, and we'll talk more about how you support social interaction. We're here with Rod Mullice of Windsor Stevens, and we've been talking about quality residential development. We'll be back right after this break.
The disease of addiction is a life-altering challenge, not just for the person suffering its effects, but also for the family and friends who support and love the one caught in its grasp. What should be the course of treatment? Who is the best person to render treatment? And what is the best place to go for the care that is needed? We know that you want answers to these and many more questions. Call 770-696-9862 and speak to a representative of the Atlanta Healing Center. They can tailor a program specifically designed to address the needs of the person suffering with an addiction, or give you guidance as to where that help may be found. Information is the key, and the trained staff at AHC is here to assist. If you wish, you can also get more information on the website located at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
My name is Kyle Hayes, a motorsports student at Alfred State College. Every year, Alfred State students compete in the Great Race, which is a cross-country time endurance rally for vintage vehicles. As you can imagine, it's pretty costly. I'm asking for your help. Your donation can make it possible for these students to live their passion and promote the vintage automobile industry. Please visit our site at give.alfredstate.edu and search Great Race to learn more and help us reach our goal. Thank you.
If your health insurance premium is more than your mortgage, Ellen Deal with Ideal Solutions is here to help. Whether you're a small business owner, individual, family, or baby boomer, email maga45cag@gmail.com and I'll respond with 3 easy questions to help you determine if you can get away from Obamacare. As a 20-year veteran of the insurance industry, I'm here to help with all your insurance needs. Email Ellen Deal at maga45cag@gmail.com.
This is America's Web Radio. Would you like to have a show, talk about your business, or express your opinion on America's Web Radio? Just email gm@americaswebradio.com and we'll get back to you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. I'm Ron Comacho, your host, and I've been very pleased to be talking with Rod Mullice, the managing partner of Windsor Stevens. We've been talking about the kind of development that Windsor Stevens creates and executes. No easy task to envision a quality residential development and turn it into a reality. And we've been drilling down into some of those aspects of that quality development. And right before the break, you know, I was asking Rod about how they deliver on one of their missions, which is designing and building projects that encourage social interaction. Because any residential community, you know, becomes an important part of your social network. And I mentioned I had seen something on the web. It was a photo of what looked like a cross between a sofa and a pod, something that you might find poolside. It was in one of your courtyards, and I said, "Can you get Wi-Fi there?" And you said, "Yeah." And I thought, wow, if I were a 20, 30, 40-something or a 60-something who wanted to have a place where I could take a break from my apartment, go down to the courtyard, go poolside, work on the computer, that'd be great. And then any social interaction in addition to that would be a bonus. And you were giving me an example of social interaction that led one young lady to a whole new career. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're really blessed to have a number of folks at the Pad on Harvard who work at Delta at different levels, and this young lady moved in with her girlfriend that just graduated from college, probably in May of 2017. And one of her goals, she's working in the hospitality industry, and one of her goals was to work at Delta as a flight attendant. And by February of 2018, she had made some friends inside of the building who were trainers for the flight in-flight services, and she got accepted into the next training class that spring. And you know, that summer she was flying around the world and was able to realize her dream. And that for me is not It's not the building that brings me joy, although that brings me some joy. It's the people we serve inside of the building, so we can make them the very best that they want to be and reach their dreams and goals. And so that showed us that the community space, the clubhouse, the Sky Lounge, the pool area was well worth the investment.
You know, this program is not an infomercial to promote companies. It's really a program that's designed to highlight quality businesses, fascinating individuals, and we'll get to you in a moment. And I believe that you really have combined a lot of different goals to create these superior projects, superior residential development projects. And I offer this somewhat tongue-in-cheek, but there's some truth to this. It seems to bear itself out. You know, live in a Windsor Stevens property, improve your life, get a better job, you know, have some upward mobility, you know, and or even lateral mobility. Much has been said about upward mobility. Most of us want upward mobility, but if you feel like you live a pretty good life, you just want to do something different, lateral mobility is not bad. You know, if you're a firefighter and you want to become more of a healthcare person or maybe a teacher or whatever, you know, it's your neighbors in any given residential neighborhood. That becomes a significant part of your network. Sometimes you will join an organization and you have a network there, but it sounds like there's a network of good folks that are able to meet each other, and you foster that in a few different ways. It's, you know, the common spaces are nicely designed. Tell us a little bit about, you know, you mentioned poolside and courtyards. Just tell me about some of the other common spaces.
So let's talk about a little bit about Temple Square. And we named it Temple Square because I grew up near Savannah, near Fort Stewart, Georgia. And if you go to Savannah, they have these wonderful squares. And you can go there early in the morning, late at night, and you'll see people walking the dog. Somebody might have a cup of coffee, and they might meet their neighbor in front of the square. And
beautiful squares, beautiful squares. Some of the nicest in the world, maybe modeled after European squares, plazas, piazzas. You know, go ahead. I mean, you just picked up on a really good design technique.
Yeah. So we believe in great landscape. That's also a principle of TOD, green infrastructure. And it has two purposes. One, it's very pleasing to the senses, but it filters the water.
That's right. I mean, a lot of people will go through landscaping, urban vegetation, urban agriculture 101, and remind people that when you have vegetation, which helps to absorb and hold water, it's not only good for the plants themselves, but the plants then become, again, aesthetic, and you really can breathe easier in a development that has more plants. So, I mean, multiple benefits from having good
great
landscaping.
Yeah, and so we have a great landscaping team, and so we're very thoughtful about that. But I want to go back to you about being layered. So we have a great design team. We have, you know, great planners, but we have to start with who is going to be using the space, who's going to occupy the space, and we are focused in on not selling space, but selling time. And so my belief is if I can give you the same building that you can get in Midtown or Buckhead, and I can put you closer to your job, and you can spend that excess time that you have from not commuting, you know, and 45 minutes a day one way to your job, you can spend that extra 35 minutes that you would have with people who you love are doing something you love. And so we try to give people the opportunity to take back their time.
When you talk about live, work, play, and I always add learn, and that's a factor. Maybe we should even add worship, because you have proximity to churches and schools. I can't see any reason why you wouldn't be high on lots of lists for a living environment that affords you all of those things, and there is a growing trend of people. It takes a while for people to learn and to change their behaviors. I mean, people get so used to commuting 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour plus in metro areas like Atlanta. We are one of those metro areas where people spend 10 hours a week or more. I mean, up to 10 hours a week or more commuting to and from work, which I might add is going to be, if you only look at 40 weeks a year, more realistically 45, that's 450 hours that you could spend doing any number of things. And I dare say that those folks working at Delta Airlines able to drive a short distance or take advantage of some transit system and get to work within minutes. I mean, how does that not improve the quality of your life? Let's talk a little bit about the upcoming project. The Gordon, is that the project in College Park?
No, that's in downtown Chamblee.
That's what I meant, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about the Gordon.
Well, the Gordon is a wonderful project. First of all, I have to say the people in Chamblee are top-notch, led by their mayor, Eric Clarkson, who is also a board member of the Atlanta Regional Commission, and he is pushing that community to think regionally. And he has been there doing that for as long as I've known him, probably about since 2010 when I was in there doing the study for MARTA, and I had to study his station also. And they have adopted a trail program that is very, very robust, that will connect to their next community south of them, Brookhaven. And the Brookhaven Trail Community Program will connect to, ultimately, the PATH program in Buckhead, which would then ultimately connect to the Beltline. So they are working collaboratively to have, trails in Chamblee, and as part of our development, we have agreed to put in trails in front of our development and east of our development. So instead of having a 3 or 4 foot sidewalk, we're putting in a 12-foot trail in our development, so we can participate in that, that regional phenomena of walkability. It's a 24-unit residential condo building. The first condo building built in Chamblee in 15 years, with 5,000 square foot of retail on the bottom. So we have mixes of uses. And we are targeting our units starting at around $220,000 and topping out at somewhere in the low $500,000.
We're going to be taking a break here, Rod. When we come back, I want to talk a little more about the Gordon, just because I think you are the perfect complement to what's going on in Chamblee. I mean, they really are heads up, and we'll talk a little more about that. We're here with Rod Mullice, the managing partner for Windsor Stevens. We've been talking about really intelligent residential development. We'll be back to talk with Rod more about that after the break.
Quick Stakes, that's QUIK Stakes, are not just for surveyors. They are great for family and community gardens. Go online to www.quickstake.com or contact your local land surveying supply dealer and get you a box of Quick Stakes. You'll love them every year when you plant your garden. Again, that's Quick Stakes, QUIK Stakes, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now. Get your pen and paper ready. If there's a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
This is Ron Comacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Karuchak. Have you ever wondered what doctors talk about amongst themselves? If you do, join us on the Doctor's Lounge and hear the doctors' conversations amongst themselves. Join me and my co-host, Dr. Hal Schertz, every Thursday morning, 8 to 9 a.m.
Okay, folks, let's have some fun on America's Web Radio. We love idioms, and we want yours. So send it in, go into our homepage, look under the flag at the banner, and click on idioms, and send us your idiom today. Thanks.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Welcome back to the Business Hour. We're here with Rod Mullice, and we've been talking about quality residential development. In particular, we've talked about two of the projects in College Park and the Pad and Temple Square, but more recently they've begun the early stages of development of Temple Square in Chamblee, and Rod was talking about creating environments that foster community, and how smart municipalities these days are supporting developers like Windsor Stevens to create the kinds of places that cultivate a sense of place and in a sense become like villages within the larger urban fabric. And I again, back to urban development, urban design 101, high density nodes. We're not going to get away unless you declare a urban area a zero growth area, which we're not going to do. If people are attracted to an area the same way that someone in your family must have been at some point to get you here to Atlanta, to the metro region, and in other cases, friends who visited friends and decided, hey, I want to live here, that's not going to stop. So you're going to have population growth. If you're going to have population growth, you have to put them in higher density nodes and higher density corridors. The best thing to do is make those higher density nodes as livable as you can. Within those higher density nodes, if you have quality development like the Windsor Stevens properties, you have a sense of community and you have a better quality of life. So that's what you've done, and definitely we should give a tip of the hat to the city of Chamblee. You mentioned their mayor, Eric Clarkson, and we actually had Tad Leithhead, former head of the Atlanta Region Commission, on this program, so we're going to have Eric on to talk what's going on in Chamblee. But you picked another winning location because of the way that they're revitalizing that area, having gone from an industrial farming before industrial, then industrial, commercial, and now moving toward a residential, with lots of really cool businesses like restaurants that are relocating in the area. And I think you're in the heart of some of that development, or maybe most of that development, so that people are going to be able to walk to a lot of really cool shops and restaurants.
Yeah, we certainly are very appreciative of Mayor Clarkson, his city manager, John Walker, head of economic development, Catherine Lee. They have, as a community, have embraced new urbanism in a way that most don't. They put it in all their plans. But Chambly's a special place. You know, Chambly High School is probably one of the most diverse high schools in Atlanta. It's also in the top 10% performing in Atlanta, in Georgia. And so there's been a tradition of embracing different styles of living, and we're really pleased to be there. We have working with the connection to other parts of the community. I would like to tell you something that we do, and we're doing in Chambly. Not everyone can live in a property that we develop because we have a certain target. We're targeting folks who are looking and working in the corporate sectors in Buckhead or perimeter in the Chambly area. And so we go into the least, not the top school, but the school that's not performing at the best, and we adopt that school. And in Chambly, it's Dresden Elementary School, and we have an award that we do now in College Park Elementary School. Although we're very glad that we have Wilbert Academy in College Park, we adopt College Park Elementary School. And so from that perspective, we're going in the Dresden Elementary School, and we're going to talk to the principal, and we're going to try to change the culture of the school and give the top reading students in each grade an award named after my mother. And so it's
what is that name?
Huh?
What is that name?
Rose Stevens Mullice Academic Achievement Award. And we give it out in College Park this will be the fourth year this year. We partner with the principal down there and the area superintendent for Fulton County Schools to do it, and we're going to do it in DeKalb County. And so,
I like the idea that you honor your own personal legacy. You know, you did it with the name Windsor Stevens. You've done it with this scholarship in the name of your mother. That you're supportive of the local schools. You're not just a developer that's developing good projects. You're going beyond that even to supporting the community.
Well, we believe in sustainable communities, and sustainable communities where everybody wins. And so our business is based upon, and we do run a business. It has to be economically sustainable. It has to be environmentally sustainable. That's why we do the types of buildings we do. And it has to be socially sustainable.
Now, I might mention that how ironic that Eric Clarkson should head a city which at one time would have been the most demographically diverse city. That honor may go to Clarkston now in the metro area. They, I think, have a much broader international community now, but the Chambly's got to be in the top three still, and I think it's really cool that Chambly should be undergoing such an evolution and a revitalization, and that you're part of that formula. I want to turn to you because in many ways you're perfectly suited to do what you do. You started off at Savannah State University because that was near home.
Yeah.
And you eventually went to Harvard and were in the Graduate School of Design Advanced Management Development Program. And tell us a little bit about that transition from Savannah to Boston and to Harvard, and about that program.
So it's a advanced management program. So it's over a year period, but you'd have to have 15 plus years in the industry to qualify for it. And we had students from all over the world. There's 38 candidates in the program, and we would go up 4 times a year, 2 weeks at a time. And we got a chance to have lectures from the top designers in the world. The class was taught by Dr. Richard Pizer, who is the foremost authority on real estate development. He's the Michael D. Spears Professor of Real Estate Development at Harvard GSD. And so it was very eye-opening for me to have designers, developers from around the world coming in and tackling their problems in the built environment to make humanity better by building things. And so it gave me the opportunity to have cohorts who I can share challenges and talk about inspiration with and to be encouraged with, and it's something that was transformative for me.
How'd you learn about that program, Rod? Were you already involved with like the Urban Land Institute or another organization where that kind of a program was common knowledge?
Well, no. I learned about it because I met a couple of folks who were trying to get students to go to the Kennedy School of Government. And I spent part of my career prior to going into real estate working for engineering firms on the sewer program in the city of Atlanta, infrastructure projects, and worked very closely, collaboratively with the mayor's office and Mayor Shirley Franklin, and knew that I wanted to do something different in 2009. And so was considering some educational opportunities, and went up to visit Harvard a couple of times at the Kennedy School of Government, and decided I did not want to be in government. I wanted to have a private sector solution to some of these big problems. And they shared with me this opportunity to go and learn about real estate at a much higher level. And the only caveat is that I needed a couple more years of experience in the field.
Must have been a really exciting program on multiple levels, one of them being almost like studying abroad. I mean, Boston versus Savannah or Atlanta must have been a really fun transition and a fun period of time. Speaking of that kind of mobility in one's career, any advice for a young student or a young professional that's thinking about a career in development?
Yeah, I would say if you want a career in development, give yourself about a 5-year timeline to acquire the skills, hard and soft, and the relationships that are needed to be a successful developer.
And how about for a young professional who's in another career? I guess it would be the same advice.
Yeah, it'd certainly be the same advice, to give yourself 5 years to build the relationships, and then go somewhere for a year or two and to be classically trained.
Well, Rod, I not only want to thank you for taking the time to come on to this program, but I want to thank you for doing what you do, because you make the urban environment better for everyone, not just the residents of your properties, but that you execute the projects in such a way that they enhance the immediate neighborhood, the municipality, the larger metro Atlanta region, and I personally think you'll be able to do this in a lot of different places around the country, so thanks a lot.
Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Business Hour here at America's Web Radio. We're on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on the internet and the radio next week.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Want to give your family or loved one the perfect gift? Then go online and check out the TornadoBodyDryer.com. I love mine and the warm heat air massage it gives me after my shower. The Tornado Body Dryer is super. You'll love it, and you'll love having one in your shower.
You can keep your doctor, you can keep your plan, and every family will save thousands of dollars a year. I'm Ellen Deal, and if you've been hurt by the Affordable Care Act, you can email MAGA45CAG@gmail.com to see if